Welcome back to Dev Diary number 6, and for those of you wondering where number 5 went, I spent that entire week playing the beta and there was no chance I was trading time with Payday 3 for a little bit of external insight. But with Dev Diary 6 exploring Payday 3's skills and progressions, I really didn't want to sit this one out. For those of you who also missed it, Dev Diary number 5, titled Heist, confirmed and alluded to a few pertinent and interesting features in Payday 3. For example, it confirmed that we will be limited to 8 fleshed out heists at launch, as well as further emphasizing the importance of co-op across these heists. This is a double-edged sword for solo players, but if Payday 3 can seriously nail that co-op experience, I might finally become a team player again. As for being limited to only 8 heists, having already seen and played a quarter of them, I have my concerns, but I'm anticipating the unrevealed 6 to be so mechanically deep, we still won't be content light at launch. Another favourite feature of mine that Mio discussed is the variable cop AI dependent on proximity to civilians. SWAT's tendency to prioritise hostages now makes so much more sense, with powerful shotgun wielders actually choosing to switch over to their more precise secondary option when in range of civs, and grenadiers avoiding using their lethal gas grenades in favour of flashbangs. The fact that we can neuter some of the most powerful units in the game by playing intelligently around hostages is such a major improvement in my eyes. I also love the addition of coordinated SWAT voice lines, meaning cops will now call out to their allies to warn them of arriving special units, or to share information regarding the Payday gang's current tactics. I just wish this was also the case for the crew, as I'm still a little disappointed by the lack of organic banter between heisters in the game at the moment. Enough on episode 5 though, let's focus on the here and now with Dev Diary number 6, which goes into detail on the aspect of Payday possibly nearest and dearest to my heart, maybe after the lore, in skills and progression. I've always loved Payday 2's role-playing elements and I'm excited by the direction Starbreeze are taking it in Payday 3, with a clear emphasis on scalability and build experimentation. I still have my doubts as to the overall impact of the Grit Edge Rush system at the moment, but love how it has been initially implemented and think it's a wonderful starting point for skills at launch from which they can grow and expand. This Dev Diary spends a lot of time in the menus, so prepare yourself to see exactly how progression is going to function when we actually have our hands on the game. The skills we've already seen though, and I plan to do a detailed build theory crafting video in the coming weeks using the already developed Payday 3 skill builder website, so keep your eyes open for that. But what is worth emphasizing for those who've missed it is that skill trees can be leveled up freely as long as you have the first skill in the row, and the final skill in any tree, known as the mastery node, which Mio actually described as weaker but I'm not so sure about, can be leveled freely without any prior investment in the tree once unlocked. What I also love is the conceptual build flexibility around these skills. Whereas in Payday 2, a shotgun build requires shotgun skills, there's nothing stopping you running a shotgun with skills designed around sniping to completely change up your playstyle within the heist, which is where the real build creativity is going to come to the forefront. There's also been a greater focus on the transition between stealth and loud, trying to marry these core gameplay elements, so even if you prefer a certain type of approach, there's value in interacting with both. The way this has been achieved from a skill perspective is by allowing you to build and prepare for stealth and loud simultaneously, with many skills and tools being designed to have value regardless of the approach. The clear hope being to eliminate the need for constant stealth restarts if that's how your build is orientated. I'm excited to see how a true rogue-orientated build holds up for loud gameplay in Payday 3, with surveillance tools like the microcam being used to track and mark dangerous specials, whilst you leverage body shields and smoke grenades to move around the map in a true pseudo-stealth playstyle. In total, we know there are 21 skill points that are unlocked across the first 100 levels, which should be plenty to make use of those sort of hybrid builds. If you remember, we had 7 at level 22, so these must be increasingly spread out as you level through the ranks of infamy. As with modern Payday 2, these are not permanent investments with free on-the-fly respecking to allow for experimentation, as well as the ability to immediately craft multiple loadouts for different builds and playstyles. What is interesting to learn is that you'll also have every other gameplay affecting utility unlocked by level 100, meaning everything else from 101 onwards is purely cosmetic and seen as bragging rights, not too dissimilar from Payday 2 after you reach Infamy number 1. How then do you level up? Well, if it was during the beta, you didn't. But in full release, you'll gain all of your character's levels and unlocks by completing preset challenges in-game. In total, there are 1,135 challenges split across heist, career, and combat. Many of these are incredibly simple, such as just completing a heist with a modded weapon, and we get a proper chance to see the menu for these after it was absent from the beta. For the most part, it seems like early levels will come to you without even having to think about it. Hell, most people were able to hit max level in the beta without even knowing why. I was also told the leveling economy was developed such that you can hit a fairly high level without ever looking at specific challenges, so if you don't want to engage too much with the system, that's fine. But for us achievement hunters looking for that 100% completion, there should be loads of really interesting challenges to sink our teeth into and level all the way to max infamy rank of 150 on release. With account leveling being limited to challenge completion though, it does beg the question where the experience gained for actually completing a heist goes. Well, of course, even after you've unlocked a weapon in Payday 3, it doesn't automatically mean you can equip it at its absolute best. First up, skills have to be researched, which is where some of your heist experience will go after successfully completing one. You can choose the order in which the first skill is researched, and from there look to build out the rest of the tree by equipping that first unlock. Similarly, weapons need to be leveled up to unlock proficiency and therefore all of their attachments, which is where the rest of the experience goes, with it contributing to leveling up whichever weapons you have equipped on the heist, regardless of whether they were actually used or not. This creates two sort of separate channels of progression, one that specifically rewards time in the game, and another that rewards experimentation and creativity, which sounds like a decent idea so long as leveling is well paced and challenges are self-explanatory. We also get a little insight from Charlie, the senior game economy designer, whose role absolutely fascinates me as an economist myself, around cash and C-stacks in Payday 3. I've heard some concerned rumblings about C-stacks being a premium currency stand-in at launch, but that has now been confirmed not to be the case, so we can have a proper look at how it will function purely as a game mechanic. In essence, it's a scaling CrimeNet currency that increases in cash cost with every stat purchase, and resets to its base cost every week, which is probably the only slightly live servicey part about it. In effect, it works to make Payday 3's money truly scalable, as many of the most coveted weapon cosmetics and weapon sets will cost C-stacks to purchase. I've already witnessed from the beta how I can go from being a multi-millionaire in dollars, but still only be able to stretch to a couple of hundred of these things, so they exist to give the items you steal greater value for much longer than is the case in Payday 2. I also noticed that leveling up will reward you with C-stacks, meaning trading isn't the only way to obtain this more precious game currency. And also, the final level weapon mods seem to need to be purchased with C-stacks, suggesting these might be used to make the final refinement to your favourite weapon once it's fully leveled up, sort of like a prestige system for it. I think C-stacks are a fairly innovative approach to the scalability of Payday 3's most immersive reward system, bearing in mind we are thieves after all, and money should play a major role in the game. That's mostly it for what the devs have to say in this progression-focused diary, but what I do want to draw your attention to is all the new weapons and cosmetics we've seen showcased across this episode, which wasn't afraid to dive into the menus for once. Most of these were absent from the beta, so it's good to get a proper look at the KU-59, the AK which I enjoyed so much in the press beta, the VF-7S, a SCAR assault rifle that we've seen in some trailer footage already, the R900S, a non-overkill sniper, which sadly cannot penetrate walls or shields from my time with it, the Mosconi, of course, which we've known about since the very first trailer, the SG Compat 7, or MP7 by the looks of things. Then for our secondary slot we see the SP Model 11, likely the M1911, the Signature 403, and Sforza Bison, another revolver for our arsenal. In the preset weapon category we also get a glance at an already customised S40 pistol and the Strike 7. In terms of cosmetics, we knew we'd only seen a tiny sliver in the beta, but just look at how expansive this range of gloves and outfits are, including none other than the thick boys. It's also interesting to see how many redacted bits of information we get here, with loads of blurred suits and descriptions. Perhaps this relates to some sort of story spoilers they're trying to avoid, or maybe even hints at the new characters for launch. Hard to tell with everything frosted over though. As ever, at the end of the video we get a bloopers feature which seems to allude to a feature that the team have yet to be able to implement at launch, which is interesting to me as I'm struggling to think what could be missing at this point. Let me know in the comments if there are any systems that you were expecting but have yet to be showcased. We also get confirmation that at the very least we aren't going to be able to directly rappel into buildings via the windows yet, which sounds promising. In any case, that's it for Dev Diary number 6, one of my absolute favourites so far, but that means we only have 3 left to come, with 1 already scheduled for launch, so the remaining diaries might be slightly more spread out. That in mind, in the coming weeks, I'd be looking towards Gamescom for any more of that juicy Payday 3 news. I know I will be, because I'll actually be there, attending my first ever high-profile game industry convention, which is hugely exciting for me. If anyone else happens to be in the region for it, I'd love to meet you in person. That said, thank you so much for watching this video, take care, I'll see you all very soon. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.